Dinner at the Martinez household had always felt more like surviving a marathon than sharing a meal. But tonight, something was different. I sat in silence, absent-mindedly moving my mother's homemade paella around my plate as Elena, my ever-dominant older sister, monopolized the conversation, per usual. "So I told the client our agency is the premier firm in Chicago," Elena declared, swirling her wine glass for dramatic effect. "Being the creative director at Stewart and Brooks, total game changer." Mom's face lit up with pride. "Mi hija brillante," she said warmly. "I always knew you'd achieve greatness." I took another bite, thinking back on countless dinners just like this one over the last 3 years. Elena basking in her accomplishments while my parents threw sympathetic glances my way, as if hoping I'd find direction eventually. "And what about you, Carmen?" Elena turned toward me, her voice coated in thinly veiled condescension. "Still dabbling in that little freelance gig?" "Just managing a few projects," I replied evenly, recalling the contracts I'd signed earlier that morning. Elena sighed with performative pity. "Must be tough, hitting 30 with no real career. I could always talk to someone at Stewart and Brooks, maybe help you start out in the mailroom." Dad cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. "No, seriously," Elena continued unfazed. "I just want to help. You've been treading water for years. Remember when you said you were going to revolutionize digital advertising?" She laughed. "So how's that going?" Before I could respond, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, posture straightening instantly. "Sorry, I have to take this. Work." "Elena Martinez speaking," she answered crisply. The entire table fell into an uneasy quiet as a voice on the other end responded, clearly enough for us all to hear. "Ms. Martinez, the owner would like to meet with you first thing Monday morning." Elena frowned. "The owner? Mr. Stewart is overseas." "No, ma'am. The new owner. The acquisition was finalized today. Stewart and Brooks has been sold." I stood and calmly pulled out my phone. "That would be me," I said. The room fell dead silent. Elena's phone slipped from her hand, clattering into her dinner plate. "What? What did you just say?" she stuttered, her carefully maintained composure cracking. I displayed the signed documents and slid the screen across the table. "That little freelance business? It's now called Innovative Digital Solutions. We purchased Stewart and Brooks this morning for $380 million. Mom's fork slipped from her hand. Dad leaned forward, fumbling for his reading glasses, staring hard at the screen. This can't be real," Elena said, her voice climbing. "Stewart and Brooks is the largest ad agency in the city. There's no way you had the funding." "IDS," I said calmly, "has been quietly behind the top digital campaigns in the country for 2 years. The projects I mentioned, they were major contracts with Fortune 500 companies. But I would have known," she argued. "I'm the creative director. For traditional media," I clarified. "The digital division reports directly to corporate. You never thought to find out who was actually driving those campaigns, did you?" Dad was still scanning the acquisition docs, his eyes widening. "These figures, Carmen. Would you like to see our quarterly growth?" I offered, showing more reports. "We've grown over 300% year over year. The ad platform I developed? Turns out companies are willing to pay heavily for proven ROI." Elena snatched the papers, eyes scanning furiously. "This is some kind of sick joke. You live in a shoebox apartment. Drive that beat-up car." "I've been living modestly," I said, "because I reinvested everything into the company. While you were buying luxury brands, I was building something that mattered." Mom reached over and gently took my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Mija, why didn't you tell us? Would you have listened?" I asked, soft but firm. Every time I tried, Elena would hijack the conversation with her latest promotion or designer bag. Just then, Elena's phone buzzed again. More messages. Her hands shook as she picked it up, eyes scanning the flood of incoming texts. "The announcement just went live to the company," I explained. "They're all wondering who Carmen Martinez is and how she just bought the firm." "This isn't right," Elena whispered. "I've been there 8 years. I earned my role. And you can keep it," I said gently. "I'm not here to push you out. We need good creatives. But maybe now you'll understand. Success doesn't always come dressed in Prada or with a corner office. The silence at the table was thick. Mom had excused herself, likely needing a moment to digest what just happened. Dad remained fixated on the financial reports, muttering numbers in disbelief. Elena sat frozen, her plate untouched, her phone still buzzing with updates, each one landing like a jab. 9 a.m. Monday, I said, breaking the silence. I'll be addressing the full team. You can't just walk in and start making changes, Elena said at last, her voice tight. There are processes, systems, long-standing client relationships. I opened my tablet and loaded a presentation. Like the Thompson account? I asked. The one that's slipping because Gen Z engagement is plummeting? Her head jerked up. How do you know about that? I've had full access to internal analytics during due diligence, I replied. Your campaigns are fine, but they're aging fast. The younger audience isn't connecting. That's why Thompson has been shopping around for new agencies, Elena admitted, her voice losing its usual edge. We've got a pitch meeting with them next week. I know, I replied calmly, and I'll be joining that meeting. I scrolled through performance metrics on my tablet, showcasing data from our team's most recent work, campaigns that had driven client engagement up by 175% across all digital platforms in the last quarter. Dad finally lifted his eyes from the acquisition papers, visibly stunned. Carmen, these profit margins are unheard of. That's because we don't just create ads, I explained, meeting his gaze. We engineered an AI-powered system that predicts consumer trends and tailors campaigns in real time. All those so-called projects I was working on, I was refining that platform with the help of some of the largest global brands. Mom returned from the kitchen with a wine bottle, her hand still unsteady as she poured more into her glass. But Mija, all those times you came to dinner exhausted, worrying about rent. She began. That's when I was funneling every dollar into development, I said gently. Living in a cramped apartment meant I could afford the best engineers. Driving that old car, it freed up capital to invest in high-performance servers. Elena's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it and went pale. The CEO of Thompson just emailed me, she whispered. He wants details on the acquisition. They've actually been quietly using our AI platform through a subsidiary, I revealed. Their engagement metrics shot up 200% in just 3 months. That meeting next week isn't just a pitch. It's the start of a full migration to IDS. Her eyes widened. That's a $50 million account. Closer to $80 million once we roll out full digital integration, I corrected. And that's only the beginning. Remember when you laughed about my business trip to Silicon Valley last month? I was negotiating with major tech companies to integrate our AI across their entire ad ecosystems. Dad reached for his wine, his hand trembling. All this time, while we worried about your future, I was building a business empire, I nodded. It just didn't look like success at our family dinners. Suddenly, Elena stood, pushing her chair back with a loud scrape. I need some air. Sit down, Elena, I said firmly. There's more. She paused, then slowly lowered herself back into the chair, shoulders heavy with defeat. Starting Monday, Stewart and Brooks becomes part of IDS Global, I announced. We're rebranding and restructuring into 3 core units: traditional media, digital innovation, and AI development. And each one will need a capable division head. Elena's head snapped up, unsure whether to be hopeful or insulted. You're talented, Elena, I continued. Your traditional campaigns have won awards. That's why I'm offering you leadership of that division. But if you accept, you'll be reporting to your little sister. The room went still except for the endless dinging of notifications. Word of the acquisition was spreading fast throughout the industry. Why? She finally asked. After everything, why offer me anything at all? Because I don't believe in measuring success by who you stand above, I said, looking her straight in the eyes. I measure it by how many people you can bring up with you, even the ones who never believed in you. Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Your father and we should have supported you more. You supported Elena because her accomplishments were easier to grasp, I replied, voice soft. A corner office and a big title are easier to brag about than algorithms and predictive data. I looked around the table, then added, but maybe now you'll finally understand why I always said the future of advertising doesn't lie in glossy print ads. It lies in adaptive AI that evolves with real-time data. My phone buzzed again. A message from my executive team. The press release goes live in 5 minutes, I said, checking the screen. Tech outlets are already asking for interviews. Elena stared at her hands. All those times I offered to help, tried to get you entry-level jobs. You were already running a company bigger than mine. A little ironic, isn't it? I said, smiling faintly. While you were offering me a spot in the mailroom, I was negotiating the buyout of your entire agency. Dad cleared his throat again, visibly shaken. Carmen, we've been so wrong. Yes, I said simply. But that's behind us now. What matters is this. Elena, are you ready to be part of what's ahead? I need an answer before Monday morning, when I make the public announcement. Elena looked up slowly, her eyes misted over. I spent all these years thinking I was better than you. You were better at playing the old game, I replied. But I was rewriting the rules. I leaned forward. So what's it going to be? Will you grow with us? Or should I start interviewing new candidates for division chief? Right then, every phone in the room buzzed at once. The press release had hit. Elena grabbed her phone and read the headline aloud. Tech visionary Carmen Martinez acquires Stewart and Brooks in $380 million deal, groundbreaking AI set to reshape the advertising world. She slowly set her phone down. I'll need to review the new org structure. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder already prepared. Includes your new contract and compensation package. Her eyes widened as she skimmed the offer. This is 3 times what I make now. Innovation pays well, I said. Especially when you're driving the future, not chasing the past. Mom quietly started clearing plates, her hands trembling slightly. I'll make coffee. We need it. Make it strong, I suggested, opening more files. We're going to be here a while. Elena needs to understand everything before Monday. As Mom disappeared into the kitchen and Dad flipped through the acquisition paperwork again, Elena looked at me with something new in her eyes, respect. How did you pull this off without anyone knowing? She asked. I sat back and gave her the smallest of smiles. By learning something you never understood. I paused, then said it plainly. Real power doesn't come from announcing how successful you are. It comes from being so successful, no one sees it coming until it's too late. Our phones buzzed again. Market alerts. Stewart and Brooks stock had already jumped 40% in after-hours trading. IDS Global, my company, had just made headlines for its upcoming IPO. You're taking it public? Elena whispered, eyes locked to the screen. Monday afternoon, I confirmed. Immediately after the merger announcement. Projected valuation, $2.8 billion. A crash echoed from the kitchen. Mom had dropped a mug. Maybe switch to decaf. I called, half joking. Then I looked at Elena, my voice steady again. We have a lot to prepare. Monday's coming fast.